we think you just don't need bosses. In private life, nobody tells you what to do. Why should we have a business where people tell you what to do? You're the best to know what you have to do in your own life. Why should it not be this way in business? So let's be honest, how can a system work where you have no bosses? After, I would say, 3 years, the numbers, the financials went better. Every year we have the better result ever. The clients are more happy. In the employee survey of the company, it's the biggest happiness of the people that are working there. So basically everything is better than before. And then the biggest difficulties were I think it was about changing the mindset. Because it does not mean that there are no bosses anymore when you're in holacracy. It more means that you are your own boss. So often the rules in usual companies are made for this 1% of people that are misbehaving. But everybody suffers because of this 1% that you have control with the rule. And in holacracy, that is not the case. You assume that people will not misbehave. So you create the rules in a common sense way. What are your values on this side and what is your reality? And now if they don't match for some reason, you need to check, okay, do I need to adjust my values or do I need to adjust my reality? And if you recheck on your values and say, yes, I still want to live healthy, but I do no sports here in reality, then you have to shift reality towards your values. Or if you think, yes, I'm not doing sports anymore, but being healthy somehow is not so important for me anymore, then you would have to shift your values to realities. You always have those two sides and you need to make sure they work together, because if they are not the same, you will have confusion and it will be very difficult to make choices. It's a big freedom to know those values. Taking big decisions has never been as easy as now because of that. No matter whom is your boss, no matter what, it's your responsibility to make yourself happy.
Šodien cilvēku jaudas epizode ir krietni ārpus manas komforta zonas, jo es sarunāšos ar savu vīru Mišelu Dennleru. Ar viņu sarunāties, tā man ir ierasta lieta, bet sarunāties podkāsta formātā, kur saruna ir skatāma un klausāma daudziem cilvēkiem, tas ir jauna veida izaicinājums. Mums ir bijuši vairāki atkārtoti lūgumi. Laura, nointervē Mišelu. Viņam ir daudz tādas interesantas stratēģijas un pieejas dzīvei, ko mēs arī varam izmantot. Un es piekrītu, tā patiešām ir. Arī es izmantoju daudzas lietas no tā, ko es uzzinu no viņa. Viņš savukārt to, ko uzzina arī no manis, un ir lietas, ko mēs attīstam kopā. Līdz ar to savā veidā šī saruna būs tāds ņigu-ņagu, kiš-miš sanāk, bet mūsu galvenais punkts, uz ko mēs koncentrēsimies, ir būt cilvēkam pašam par savu bosu, jo tā ir tā atslēga uz to esi savas laimes kalējs un viss ir atkarīgs no tevis un tam līdzīgi. Bet jautājums ir, ar kādām stratēģijām šo attieksmi, šo pieeju dzīvei mēs varam vēl uzlabot. Un es ceru, ka kaut kas no tā noderēs. Vienu daļu sarunas mēs pievērsīsimies holakrātijai, kas ir darba vide bez bosiem, kad katrs pats sev ir boss. Mēs to neskaidrosim detaļās. Detaļās mums par laimi Elīna Pelčera no Training Lab mums ir atvēlējusi tādu iespēju, ka tie, kas vēlēsies, varēs redzēt konferences uzstāšanos, kuru Mišels pirms vairākiem gadiem Training Lab konferencē Iedvesmai un līdzsvaram skaidroja, kas ir holakrātija. Tāpēc tajās detaļās mēs šeit iekšā neiesim. Šis nav mērķis izskaidrot holakrātiju, bet gan tās stratēģijas, ko no holakrātijas, no darba vides bez bosiem var pārnest uz savu dzīvi, savas dzīves kvalitātes celšanai. Un otra lieta, vai trešā vēl lieta, ko mēs apskatīsimies, otrā būs no projektu vadības, kas ir noderīgs, ko pārnest uz savu dzīvi, un no vienkārši Mišela pieredzes viņa tādā izaugsmē, attīstībā, kādas metodas, kādas stratēģijas ir noderējušas viņam, varbūt vēl kādam tās var noderēt, bet visas zem šī te galvenā širmja, zem galvenā lietusarga, kā būt, atcerēties, kad tu esi savas dzīves tas īstais un vienīgais boss, un kā tajā lomā būt tādu ar vēl lielāku ieguvumu iekšā. Okay, I think we can start. It's our first conversation on a podcast. I must say it's a crazy experience. We have been on it for a whole day already. As our main objective today is to speak about remembering to be own boss for every person. Does not matter what is the situation at work or what is the situation at home. If somebody says yes, you are your boss, or somebody says no, I am your boss, it does not matter. The aim of our conversation is to bring in strategies that you have from the company you work for, from this model that it operates in holacracy, and that's the life without bosses. And then we also bring in inputs from your experience as a certified project manager, what could be applicable for a life where the person says like, no, it's my life, I live it accordingly to my needs, to my values, what can be valuable from this experience, and also from your own journey in developing as a personality, as a professional, as a family man, as a, I would say, pretty healthy and fit person. Are you okay with that?
Okay, yeah, thanks.
So let's start with already one strategy that we think is very valuable that you have taken over from holacracy.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised that at first you will experience it and only then Michel will explain what it is. I think it works better this way.
I am happy to be here, though I'm also very nervous. I'm pretty warm in this studio. The sun shines outside. I hope I will not be sweating here soon. If I sweat, it's just because of the temperature, not because of the questions, obviously. I'm excited. Thanks for having me. I'm curious how this will end out. Check in.
Okay. I'm also feeling like, the temperature is high. There is nothing we can do about it. But I'm very happy to talk to you. So check in. Would you explain now what was happening?
Yeah, so that's how we in holacracy, we start the meetings. But this is not like, restricted to holacracy. You can start any meeting with this check-in. We call it check-in. And it's just a short moment where you go through all the participants that are in the meeting. And then just like we did before, just give you some sentences, how they feel, what they have in their head, whatever. It's like open microphone for those people.
And why is it needed?
And the idea is that, first of all, everybody has time to get into the meeting. Usually, everybody jumps from one meeting room to another, then you sit down and then it starts right away. So it kind of takes up a bit this small talk. When you are in small groups, like just the two of us, it would be normal that we start the meeting with a small talk, like, how are your kids doing? Maybe what did you do on the weekend? But as soon as you're many people, you don't want to do such small talks usually because you think that's not efficient or we're going to lose time. So you start right away with the topic. And then I have such meetings where we are big groups, like virtual groups, and then it starts, everybody comes in 8 o'clock in the morning, and then, okay, point one on the agenda is this and this, and it feels like I'm talking to strangers, I'm working with strangers. And the idea is that you can connect, that you can also be open, that you feel safe, because you're going to know where those persons are at.
And that's why if somebody has like a sour face, or somebody is like having like no face, almost like completely seems indifferent, or somebody's like a bit too cheery on their face, you are trying to explain it in your brain and you come up with your explanations instead of the reality.
Exactly. There is like a girl, sometimes she has the video, sometimes not, and then you wonder, as we have mostly virtual meetings, and then you wonder why she's not having the camera on, what's the problem? And if she comes in and in the check-in she says, I just have a bad hair day today, then I'm not going to show you on the camera, then, we don't have to be worried about her. She's just having a bad hair day, so she does not want to be seen, and that's fine. But if usually she's there and then she's not there, we think, is she doing something parallel? Is she not really there? Is she sick? Has she forgot to put up her makeup? I don't know, whatever. So it frees your energy to think about the meeting, and you don't have to think about the people, why they look like they look. I mean, in this example, she was not looking at all because she had the camera off. But we've had meetings where the guy comes in and he looks tired and he says, I had a shitty night because I had a big argument with my girlfriend yesterday evening. And I just feel like very down. And then you kind of know, okay, this person, you don't have to think, why is he looking so shitty? Did he have a too big party whatsoever? So you don't have those guessing. Yeah, you just know where the people are at. And it helps you to connect to them because you realize, they also had bad days. They also have their pains or their, nice things.
One would say, oh, this is such a female thing, women would do that. They would speak about how do you feel, how your feelings are. But you work in a very masculine environment. Yeah. How many percentage are men? And so
from our sides, when we have like the project team coming together, I would say it's like 90 80 to 90% men. But that depends. I'm working mostly with developers. If you are somewhere, more interacting with marketing or HR, you would have more women. But also when we have meetings with the clients, because I try to bring this check-in also to the meeting with the clients, I explain them, would you like to do that? Then we try it out. And I'm happy when it works. For some clients, that's like too touchy kind of, too feminine, and say, no, we don't want that. We don't need that. So then we don't do that. But in the short or medium term with those clients, I feel like I'm not so able to connect good because I don't know them really. Because what it helps to do is like, I'll give you an example. From 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting. We were about 13 people. I started with the check-in and I said, okay, I did my workout today. I feel a bit tired, but very, very, very good because I know I have worked out and, the day cannot go bad because at least I did my workout. So I feel good. And then every person that came after me was telling something about their relationship to sports. So one guy said he went jogging. The next guy said, I never do sports. The fourth guy said, I would like to pick up sports. And in the end, you have learned so much about everybody just by investing this small time, and it gives you a connection and it gives you a common ground. And the nicest thing is even when it gets funny, because people, when you have them, speaking freely, they can bring in very, very funny things that you would not think about. And then to start a meeting with everybody smiling and laughing, that's just wonderful. That gives the safety and you feel good by working. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of check-ins.
But check-in also is quite regulated in holacracy. There are certain rules. How can you tell about those rules?
Yeah, so basically it's not very regulated, but there is one rule is that you don't interfere when somebody is going their check-in. So if you give your check-in, you're allowed to say whatever you want, and nobody should kind of comment on that, interrupt you, try to fix you. If you come in and say, I feel like totally broken, it's not meant to be that others come and say, oh, can we help you? What shall we do with you? And so on. It's kind of just, it's a one direction. Of course, later on, they can come back to you and ask, can I help you? What could I do?
But not during the meeting.
Not during the check-in. Also not during the meeting. I don't know exactly the regulation, but usually you would really go back to that person afterwards when you think you might be able to help. But it's not a place that you say something so you expect somebody to fix you. It's just a place where you are really honest about how you feel at the moment.
And I know that when taking over this practice of check-in, the most difficult part is this stay quiet, not to interfere. When we were doing it with our team in Latvia, oh my God, I got in so much trouble because
we had an argument, I remember.
I was usually, because it's important for me that everybody feels well. And I remember one of the girls said that she's cold. And for me, it was like, I want to do something about it right away because I don't want anybody to get sick. And as soon as she said she was cold and she said check-in, I immediately went and said, okay, what can we do so you are not cold? And then you said, hey, that's against the rules. And then I was so angry with you and we had a big fight and it was such a disaster. So I learned that if there are rules, you follow the rules.
What is also important about the checking is that you are free to say whatever you want, and you can also just say nothing if you really feel like. You cannot force anybody to say how they feel. If they just want, they can also just say check-in. And I've had meetings also when there is few time where people go like, okay, check-in, next one, check-in.
So they don't even go into any detail because they feel like, okay, it does not help me now, I just go.
Yeah, I mean, after some time I would like kind of ask them why you never say something about yourself. So I would still, pick up the subject and learn something about it. And we call those check-ins, this check-in. We call it chicken check-in. Because it sounds like chicken. It's a bit nasty. But also I think you have to open up. You have to be a bit brave and courageous. And those who never want to say anything, just check in. I assume they have something to hide. So it's a bit, I would go and then ask, why are you never saying anything?
So this check-in is a way to be more productive, to be more understanding each other. Not only that I understand others better, but also I feel more like understood.
I think so. You connect on a human level, which you cannot do when you speak about finances.
And this is then very productive. Then we have this private stuff off in this easy way, and we can focus on working.
Yeah, and people have time to get into the meeting, because until the round is finished, if you are like 10 people, that might be like 4 or 5 minutes just to sit down, calm, get your mindset to the people, get used to the new people, and I find that very helpful. To be used.
Wait a moment. There are some people who just wait to be able to talk and talk and talk. How is the procedure with such people who go on and on and on?
I mean, I have not experienced that.
Yeah, you are from that area. IT maybe are not the big talkers, but I tell you, in many areas where I am involved, this check-in is dangerous.
Then you would let it go through during if it happens 3-4 times, either you just go and talk to that person. There is one guy in Holacracy that's the facilitator. He's responsible of the meeting. So he could go just one-on-one to that person, say, look, I like your check-ins, but don't make them too long still, kind of, People don't want to, because people will think that person is crazy if they go on and talk and never stop. And after 10 minutes, I mean, of course, as facilitator, I don't know the rules exactly how I could stop that person. It said you have to go, but if they go on, I would do something. But again, nobody does that because everybody will think they are cuckoo. And maybe that's already the first limitation to use holacracy. If you have cuckoo people or they were just to misuse the rules, then they can do it, yes. But shorter or later, they're not going to be around anymore.
Okay, so let's go into this. If you give us a short introduction into the company you are working for, where this holacracy is. Yeah,
so it's an IT company. We are based in Switzerland. We exist there since 25 years. We are above a bit 200 persons. And we meanwhile have offices in Germany and also in Poland.
And what do you provide your clients with?
We do basically a project like medium to bigger size project and everything that is connected with internet basically. But we really aim at the bigger companies like insurances, like banks. We have a lot of government places that we are working for.
Okay, and then the clients get from you what? E-commerce solutions?
Maybe e-commerce solution, but mostly it's like just like big web portals. So like Swiss Post, you come on a first page which says Swiss Post, and then you can go to do the finance part, you can go to the letter part and so on. So this whole solution was built by us, for example. Then we have some systems where you can buy an insurance. So you have to go through a certain step, you insert your data, then they ask you, what you want to have insured, and then like kind of workflows where it's important for the user. Back in the days, you put on a website and then you gave a manual or a video with it that showed how you have to click through. And nowadays you expect people of how the website is built that they intuitively will know where they have to go through. So you need to think a lot about how the client in the end, the user will click through and you create that experience.
Mm-hmm. And before holacracy was introduced in this company, which happened, if I remember correctly, 5 years ago.
It was right before you went to New Zealand, and you will know when you went to New Zealand.
Yeah, that's 5 years ago.
Okay, it's 5 years ago.
5 years ago. So in that time, you were a team leader, and it was a traditionally run company from the bosses, and that's a huge change that suddenly there is no bosses. As I said, we will put a link on Michel's presentation during a conference from Training Lab in Latvia where he explains holacracy. So I will not go into details about how holacracy functions, but few things we need to understand in order to be able to take over the strategies that you will suggest. So what was the reason that company decided to do holacracy?
I think I was not the one who decided that. That was management. Those were 4 people. I think they were very brave. And what they have reported afterwards, and what I think has been their biggest pains, is that for years the company was doing okay, but it was just doing okay and not very good. And every 3-4 years there was another bigger organization where half of the management would change, and you had to change this and new roles, and some people would not be there anymore. And I think they were just fed up with reorganizations, and they wanted to implement a system that reorganizes itself on its own, basically in small steps, instead of doing one big bang every 4 years, that all the time the system adjusts itself to the market, to the people, and so on. And this is how they came to holacracy.
And what has been the benefits from introducing it and working in it?
Many. They show themselves, I would say, after 2-3 years, really. So first of all, that there was like this. Usually when you do a bigger change, there is this desperation and you're not knowing if it's going to be right. And you still think, even though you have a new system without bosses, you still think that the old bosses in the background are managing everything. And partly they might be. So that was a pain. But then after, I would say, 3 years, the numbers, the financials went better. So since then, after 3 years, every year we have the better result ever. The clients are more happy. In the employee survey of the company, it's the biggest happiness of the people that are working there. So basically everything is better than before, and it sounds a bit big, but that's really how it is.
And to implement it, as you said, it took about 2 to 3 years to adapt.
Yeah.
And the big problem was that in the beginning, a lot of people left, you told us.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had also good people leaving, and those were just not believing that this change would be for good. Because let's be honest, how can a system work where you have no bosses? So, and then additionally, the first 1-2 years, it's a bit chaotic, and you don't really know where it's going, and so on, and you don't believe in that system. So, many people left, or some people left, and then the biggest difficulties were I think it was about changing the mindset. Because it does not mean that there are no bosses anymore when you're in holacracy. It more means that you are your own boss.
So I am my own boss. If I am my own boss, then in holacracy I say, okay, I work as little as I can and I want as much money as possible.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? And everybody wants the same, basically.
So you say without bosses it would not work, basically. That's what you want to
Yeah, that's why I think the bosses are needed to, keep people accountable.
Yeah. Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a boss? I mean, in your life, in your private life, do you have a boss?
No, I am my own boss.
And how does it work when you are not accountable to somebody?
I mean, I don't know. It somehow works.
Yes, that's how holacracy, it somehow works. I remember how one of the managers or the top management, one of the founders, in fact, came to me when they introduced the system. And that was one of the first things I was told. As we said, we went to New Zealand a bit before that change. So I was one of the first team leaders to be informed. And he came and he said, look, we think you just don't need bosses. In private life, nobody tells you what to do. Why should we have a business where people tell you what to do? You're the best to know what you have to do in your own life. Why should it not be this way in business? And that's brave, but I think that works.
And then you told me that you personally were very happy with holacracy. You really enjoyed the freedom that you decide what you want to do, what projects you want to work on, with which people you want to work on. So it's all there.
Yeah.
But there were people who stayed still in a holacracy, but they were unhappy. So what was the problem for their unhappiness?
I would say they have been used to take like their orders, let's call them orders, from their former bosses. And now suddenly they were not told anymore what they have to do directly. And it gives kind of insecurity because, you have to start thinking for yourself, what will I do? And of course, I was a project manager. I had been in the company for many years. I have my network. I know people. Part of my job is to go around and talk with people. But if you are a developer who understands that your work so far is just to do coding, then suddenly you also have to take care that you have assignments in projects, and that you plan your vacation on your own, and that you do your substitutions, that you organize them on your own. So that there is nobody who takes care of you anymore. And if you are used to having somebody who takes care of you, then it's quite challenging. But then again, my question is, okay, they might be used in work environment that somebody takes care of them. But how does it look in their private life? Do they have somebody that takes care of them there? And I don't think so. So I think you should apply what you have from your private life also in your work, and what we are doing the other way around, from work to the private life.
And I remember you told me such a thing, that people were upset with the company at the time when there was a holacracy. And you told me then that you've had the feeling like you would like to shake them awake and say, can you tell this? Yeah,
it was like in one department. In holacracy, they are called circles, but not department. But doesn't matter. It was in a place, and they were not happy with a guy who had been their former manager. And he still had a role. You have roles in holacracy, so he was still part of that circle. And they were not happy with how he was doing things, but they never brought it up in this official holacracy way, where you have meetings and where everybody can bring a point to the agenda and then discuss it. And you can also discuss if you're not happy with how somebody is performing. That's challenging, that's tough, but in holacracy, everybody has the same power, has a right of vote, basically. It does not count more if the former boss says something than if a junior who is new to the company says something. And I was talking with many different people from that circle, and I told them, but raise that point that you're not happy with this guy, but name it. Have you ever been naming it? Is it somewhere in the protocol that you're not happy with that person? Because that's the first step, how you can start to change things, to bring awareness to that person and so on. and they were always just talking behind the back, but never really had the guts to make it openly public. And this is where I wanted to shake them, because that's what holacracy can bring. Anybody can kind of raise their voice when they are not happy with something, and try to give improvements and suggestions for a better work.
That makes me think also about the private life, that if I am not raising my voice, I don't know, for some of our friends, or maybe somebody from the family, then I am acting as if I would have a boss. When in fact, when you asked me, do you have a boss? No, I don't have a boss.
Yeah.
And so I just need to be able to use my use my freedom, exercise my freedom. So I think one of the main lessons from holacracy is to understand that we don't need like a permission from somebody, especially in our private life. Like if I would be your slave, then that might be a different situation. But luckily we live in
that would be very different situation. Thanks for the thought.
But we live in a free country, and there is no way I am your slave or that you are my slave. So if like we oftentimes say with each other, if you are unhappy, or if I am unhappy, like if you are unhappy, that's your own problem. Not your own problem, but that's your own result.
Responsibility to change it, especially.
And also it's the result of what you have done. So you are unhappy in the relationship. It does not matter if it's a private relationship or if it's a work relationship. So it's still up to you to change it, and not to wait until somebody will solve it from you.
And I think in the regular businesses, we are used just to, even if we see a problem, we just lay back and say, that's not my business, that's my boss's business, that's his trouble. I see it's not going well, but that's not on my plate. And we kind of take that over to our private life, where we say, it's not to me to change something. But then again, in the private life, there is no boss, there is nobody who takes care of you, unless you are a kid still, and you're under 16, then you have a boss, that's the parents. But as soon as you are an adult, there is no boss. And we still behave like there is some boss somewhere that is kind of, making sure we are fine. Especially me, I still have this idea there is some, somebody's taking care of me. But no, we have to do it ourselves. And this is what is a very nice lesson from holacracy, how you can take it over to the personal life. You have to be your own boss.
So let's go into the details from how holacracy has several tools that are very valuable. And one of these tools is the meetings. So you already introduced us about check-in. So meetings would go smoother, that meetings would be more productive. What are other things about meetings that people could take over for their work life and also private life?
So there are two kinds of meetings in holacracy. One is the tactical meeting, and one is the governance meeting. And tactical meeting, we will have, you can define it as a circle, but usually every second week there is a tactical meeting, and every fourth week there is a governance meeting.
But excuse me, if it's every fourth week, the governance meeting, is it also that it's fourth week is the second week, second week is also a tactical meeting?
Yeah.
So you have a tactical meeting and then right away governance meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And the tactical meeting is the meeting where you are just like managing daily business. How is this project going? Is this report handed in? What are our metrics? How does it look with the finances? Is there any problems that you have in doing your work, and so on? So like daily business things. So we say, in holacracy, they say you work within the organization. And then every fourth week on the governance, you work on the organization. And this is more like kind of the retreat moment where you just have a step back and you think, what could we improve as a company? Are we going in the right direction? Do we have the right people? Are we doing the right work? Or would we need to do some different things that we would be on track?
Governance meeting, is it for the whole company together, or is it for separate those circles?
It's by circle.
So it's not by company. It's not about the whole company, but it's what is regarding my circle.
My circle. Though there is a circle that is the GCC, the general company circle, that's the circle that includes the whole company. So on one level, there is such kind of a meeting where it's about the whole company, but then not everybody is part, just people that have roles in this specific circle.
Okay, let's start with the tactical meetings, because holacracy's guiding principles are
There is it's called Constitution. There is a holacracy constitution that you can just download online if you're interested.
So anybody can access it. Just write down holacracy constitution, and you will see how are those guiding principles, how the holacracy is run.
Exactly.
Okay, and so everything is how to call it regulated very properly, how things should be, including tactical meetings. So what's important about tactical meetings?
Tactical meetings are time boxed.
So there is certain time that is allocated
usually
to
it's
it?
Usually it's like 1 hour per meeting. And then you create the agenda on the spot with the help of everybody. So it's not like there is a predefined agenda. When the meeting, after the check-in, first you go through some metrics, you check numbers, you can define that, but then you create the agenda. That's the main part of the meeting.
So let's say,
to go through the agenda points.
So let's say we are 5 people.
Yeah.
We come to the meeting. Everybody says their check-in part.
Yeah.
And then everybody says what they will...
What would you like to talk about? Somebody is the facilitator.
So one person is a facilitator.
Yeah, he's like kind of the moderator of he knows the rules and he will make sure everything is within the rules. And then one person is the secretary and he's writing down the suggestions, the agenda points. So everybody says, okay, you say, I want to speak about finances. One person says, I want to speak about vacation. The other person says, I want to speak about these clients. You spend the first 1 minute to, 2-3 minutes to build agenda points. And then maybe you have like 13 agenda points. And then the facilitator knows, okay, we have 1 hour to go through 13 points. So he will kind of get the feeling how fast can we go. But also during the whole meeting, it's possible to bring in new agenda points. Whenever you hear something that makes you think about something, you can just raise a new agenda point. And the good thing about that is often those meetings, are being done or invitation are being sent 2 weeks in advance, and then you set up an agenda, and by the time the meeting is there, you have different things that are more important than that, and then you say, oh, how we don't have space on the agenda anymore. So this is I like that, to come together and, okay, what we know, we have 1 hour to talk about things. What are we going to talk about? Let's define it, and then we decide what, or the facilitator will decide what, in his opinion, is the most important. So he then decides which points are to being discussed or not. Mm-hmm. If there are too many, we will not manage. But like that, we often have meetings where we discuss 15 different topics within 1 hour. And I think that's huge, to have an agenda point with 15 points that have been addressed. And every single point is relevant because it was named by somebody who needed to address this now. I think that's very valuable.
So if we would bring it to our private life or our private projects that are outside the company you work for, because sometimes we do things together with friends, then it would be 4 of us come together, and it's not like it's my project and I say, look, this is what I need everybody to do, and then we only follow what I request. But I say, okay, these are my needs, and that gets on agenda. You say what you want to discuss, and this friend says this what they want to discuss, and so on. Mm-hmm.
It's like when we go to a weekend somewhere, vacation, you often ask the whole family, what do you want to achieve this weekend? What do you want to feel? What do you want to have out of this? And
what is important for you to experience on that trip? Yes.
And then everybody will say something, and we have like 8 agenda points, and we make sure that during the weekend we have fulfilled those 8 agenda points.
Now let's give an example. I think the last one when we went to Malta, maybe that's the one I remember.
Yeah, okay, I don't remember.
So because we were already in an airplane, all 4 of us are sitting in the airplane, and we realized, okay, we did not do it before the trip. Now we do it in airplane. That's usually the latest place where we do it. And then I asked you what it is that you want to have, and you said you really want to relax, you want to explore places, and you would like to try snorkeling. And I said that I want to have 1 boat trip, and that I want to eat well, and that I want to have some quiet time without kids as well. And then the thing was that we asked kids what they want to do, and then Theodore said that he wants to see the sea a lot, and that he wants to do some crafty things himself. And then, Erasmus was like 2.5 years old, and then we asked him as well, what do you want? And it seemed like so silly, he's going to do what we will tell him to do. But we still asked this question, and he said, I want the sea every day. I want the sea. And that's what we then brought into that trip, that we just made sure, because we knew everybody's desires, and we brought it in. What you want to say?
Yeah, and that brings huge clarity, because, and then Laura, you just say, okay, I want to have this boat trip. And I'm not gonna think it's just a spontaneous idea. She feels like a boat trip. Why should we do that? I don't feel like it. I know this is what she wants to have out of this trip. So I'll give it all that we'll have this boat trip. And everybody will know this was important to you because you named it before. So during a trip, many ideas can come up what we could do. But when you have them written down or agreed before, that's just gives a lot of clarity. You know what you're going to do.
And you said that during the tactical meeting, people can still bring in additional agenda points. And I remember that particular trip to Malta because we had friends joining us, Andis and Laura Arnicāni, and with their baby. And they also on the first day they arrived, that was like 2 days later than we arrived, we again had a meeting where we expressed, everybody said what they want, and Laura and Andis also said what they wanted, and it was wonderful. And then 2 days later, Andis came with the point, or Laura came with the point, I don't remember, when they said, look, there is one thing which we did not realize before, but we noticed that you guys are sometimes on the phone during the meal. Because, we would be sharing the stories and so on. And they said, we have a rule that nobody uses the phone. Not even a little bit. It's not that we were using it the whole time, but sometimes I have to do my work a little bit, we would still do. And they said, no, it's important for us. And then, okay, it's important for you. And then we agreed, fine, we don't do it during the meals. So that's the good point. But how do you manage that the meeting does not go over time?
It's time boxed. You just know you have 1 hour and there is no guarantee that you can discuss all the points that are on the list. So this is where the facilitator kind of assumes what does he think are the most important ones, or he can also ask as a facilitator. I can say, look, we have 10 more minutes, we have like 7 topics on the agenda, I don't think we'll manage all of them. Please let me know if you think it's very important that we have your remaining agenda point today and not in 2 weeks. And then people will say, okay, I would like to have mine or mine. But there is no guarantee. That's a responsibility of the facilitator, that he will pick the points that he thinks are the most important for now.
And I think in the private life it's a bit more difficult because there is no facilitator. Maybe that's one thing which is still good to agree. You are the facilitator, so you are looking that we follow the guidelines.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you could say in private life you don't need to time box that meeting. You can have a bit longer until everything is discussed also. So.
Okay. So anything else about the tactical meetings that they run smoothly?
Yeah, what is very good, what I like is like you bring up an agenda point and then the facilitator is going to ask you, okay, you write down resources, for example. You want to either you ask a question from the circle or you give or you inform the circle or you want to have some proposition. But the facilitator will ask you, okay, you put down resources. What is it that you need from the circle? So you feel okay with that.
So let's make it more clear.
Yeah.
How would that be? Let's say it's a trip together with friends.
Yeah.
Let's say it's a trip to Canada, for example, on the wild rivers.
Good. On the wild river. Now let's go to a city because you write like Montreal Canadiens on the list, and this is a hockey team. And then as a facilitator, I would say, okay, Laura, you wrote Montreal Canadiens on the list. What do you need there? What does that mean?
I have no idea.
And then you would say, I'm a big fan of the Montreal Canadiens since 20 years. I absolutely want to go and watch games.
You're speaking about yourself, I guess.
No, it's just an example.
Really?
No, not Montreal Canadiens. But I mean, I would like to go watch NHL games. So.
Okay, and then I say, I have been watching them for 20 years and I really want to see that game, okay?
And then you say, can we agree that we put that on the list of what we're going to do? And then you will ask the opinion of the circle, basically, like, what do you think about it? And then somebody will say, I don't like ice hockey, so I'm okay if you go watch, but for me we can just split that. I do something else at that time, but I'm willing to give you that, so we can see that we are in Montreal on that date. You just give us the date or something like that.
And then?
But what they cannot do is to say and come in and hijack your agenda point.
Well, that means what? I say I want to see this. What's it?
Montreal Canadiens.
Okay, I want to see those.
Then I say, no, that's a stupid idea because, basketball is way better. We should go and plan basketball to watch a basketball game and NBA.
And then what just happened?
And then I took over. It was we call them tensions, those agenda points. You want to discuss something and I hijacked your topic by having now a different proposition. Because now I took away your power. You wanted to talk about ice hockey and I want to talk now about basketball. And this is where the facilitator comes in and says, if you want to speak about basketball, put your point in the agenda and we're going to speak about basketball when we come to it. This is meant to protect your point. You want to speak about ice hockey, so you should be able to speak about ice hockey. Even though somebody thinks they have a better idea, a different idea, they think it's nonsense, this is to stop all those, people who interfere with whenever somebody brings up something and you just turn them off by having a better idea than them, basically. So this makes sure that everybody has a voice within that meeting, and the voice counts the same no matter if that's a junior or if that is a former boss, for example.
Or if it's a very accomplished project manager with huge experience, it's the same voice of the junior. They still have a chance to discuss what's important to them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think often in private life, you are a group, you want to discuss, with the guys, what do we do tonight? Somebody brings an idea, and then the one who sets the tone brings in the next idea, and the idea of the first person is just gone, or it's not being discussed anymore. Even though it might have been that some people were for that, just because somebody brought in, an additional idea or some better idea, obviously, or something that was cheaper, then the whole discussion switches to that new point. And this in holacracy is not okay. So if you raise an agenda point, this is you who can, this is your topic. We will discuss your topic on what you requested, and we will not change the topic to something differently.
Yeah, and if somebody says, no, much better is this to see a basketball game, then you say, okay, that is your agenda, and we put it your point as well, but we will not take over your point and disregard the previous point.
If you have no facilitator, you say, okay, I acknowledge your wish to go watch NBA, I'm very happy with that, but that has nothing to do with my wish to go watch ice hockey. Let's discuss yours and mine, but after each other. Now we discuss mine first.
I have noticed that in our family, there are times when I am very time stressed and I need to move forward, and then we have this kind of family, not really a meeting, but the moment where the kids also raise their needs, and I'm telling like, no, now you wait. now we need to take care of this matter that I have said, and I have noticed that you sometimes stop me and you say, no, let's allow your thing that has nothing to do with what the kid is asking. So let the kid express also what they are asking.
Exactly, because in that moment you are a parent, you kind of are the boss, but you are misusing the power that you have to overrule them. If you were really equal, you would not kind of just overrule them. But of course, with kids, it's a bit different. But
of course, if they would say, I don't know, I want to, if they would say, I want to watch the movies all day, but like the silly thing, but still everybody has a voice and everybody should be heard.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the main part. Okay, anything else about those tactical meetings?
No, well, I liked it this way. When you raise an agenda point, the facilitator will tell you, okay, what do you need here? It's like, do you have a question? Do you want to share an information? Do you have... basically, that's it. You need to be aware of what you want. You don't just start to speak about ice hockey and and I like it and this is nice how they play, and you should know what is it. You don't just want to speak about the topic. You have a specific need, and this is when I ask you, what do you need here from the circle? Do you need an information? Do you need to share something? What is it? Sometimes they ask you, what do you need here? And I like that, because it's not just an agenda point that, okay, let's speak about ice hockey. No, it's about your need. And you need to be clear on what you want. And I think that's in private life the same. If you have a meeting or we talk with friends, you should always be knowing what are your needs. I don't need to tell that to you. I think you're very good in that, basically. Speaking to my mirror here, that's something that I don't have. I start to speak about the topic, and while discussing it, I realize, okay, obviously I have a need there because I brought it up. Otherwise, I don't speak about it. But what do I need there? And by talking, I get to realize, maybe if I get helpful questions from you like I usually do, then I will realize why did I bring up this topic? And in a holacracy meeting, you have to know exactly why you bring up this topic, because somebody will be asking you, okay, what do you want here? And so it's not just we talk about it.
So it's one of the problems that makes meetings unproductive is when people are talking, but they sometimes even themselves are not aware that there is a need they have. And that makes the meeting unproductive. Yeah. So it's like also realize what it is that you need and inform others what you need.
Exactly. And everybody has opinions about everything. So it does not help if you are 15 people, everybody wants to say his opinion about something. This is where in holacracy you have the right to say, okay, I just want to inform. And you can ask questions if you want. Does somebody have a question back? But you can also say, I just want you to inform that I have decided to now work on Tuesday mornings instead of Wednesday evening. Okay, that's it. I have what I need. And nobody can ask you a question. It's you who decides how the discussion is going. If somebody finds that is not okay, then again, they have to raise their own agenda point. But it's you who is in charge of that agenda point. It's you who decides what will be spoken about. And And this is to stop it again. You have those people who have an opinion in everything, and they will just come in, and you can just say, I don't need questions. I don't want anybody to comment on it. I will just give it information, and that's it.
So you said there are 3 different types of information that people give during the interactions that they give during this tactical meeting. One is, you said, I can decide, I inform you.
Yeah.
Like I come to you.
I want to give it information. I would say there are like 3. Yeah. One is you request some information from a specific person
give
or
me
from
an
the
example from working environment, for example.
Yeah, I have been noting that on that project, somehow we don't perform so well anymore. Did anybody else notice that? And what is your opinion on it?
So you requested that information.
I requested information. I can say I requested specifically from, Peter there, because I know he's part of the project. Peter, what do you think? Or you can just keep it open. Say, I would like, what is your opinion on that? Have you noticed the same? And then it would go some minutes, maybe seconds, depending how many people open up. But then again, it's a facilitator to say, you should not just discuss things for nothing. So if it feels it goes into a discussion and not on an information anymore, then the facilitator would say, okay, here we stop it because we have other agenda points. It was just to get an information. How do others see that? And we are not solving the problem here right now. We just want to get this information.
So because you said I request an information, you gave a request for what you need, and the talking is only about what you requested. And
if somebody goes off, the facilitators will come in and say, now you are going off the topic. Now you're going to basketball again.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one. So I request an information, and the other one is I give an information. And you can also give an information and then still ask for a feedback on the information you give.
Okay, so what are the examples? Why would somebody decide just to give an information, for example?
I mean, easy things is I want to inform you that I'm in vacation the next 2 weeks, just so you know.
And I'm not like asking you
I don't ask you. No, I don't ask you permission. I don't want you to comment that I go to Malta. I just go to Malta. I'm not interested in your comment. So often it's like you just want to inform something. But you can also do it when you know that you will have those usual suspect who will start to discuss about things, and you don't want to go into discussions. You just want to make your point. So I just want to inform the circle that I think that we are just doing this check-in quite shitty lately. I would like everybody to rethink that they make it more valuable, that they share some personal things. That's my point of view. Thank you for listening to that and considering it.
So that is the second part. We are giving the information, and we don't ask to interfere with what we gave. And if I have a problem that you go on a vacation to Malta, because I realize as your partner I will have way more work to do, then when it comes to me, what I need to put on agenda, I just say I have a problem with Michel going to Malta.
You can say I have a follow-up point to this
follow-up
point. And the facilitator, they see you can you have a software that we share, so you can put in your agenda point on the software, or you can just shout it in, I have something for the agenda. And the facilitator will see, okay, now we have again a Malta point coming in. Then usually he would switch right away to that point, so we keep the topic a bit together.
Okay, and the third thing is?
To say something and ask a feedback from the people on what you just said.
So first one is I was requesting information.
Then
second,
it's to give
I
feedback
just
without
give
anything, and then give information with the feedback. And
okay.
Might be other. It's not like strict, but this is what comes to my mind now.
Okay, and then let's say we are 7 people, and then Michel says he's informing us that he goes to Malta. And then like 3 more people have objections to that, or like
Not
you said, follow-up.
Follow-up tensions. We call them tensions.
And then they also say it loud. How does it appear? Because I just imagine it's a mess now already. Like everybody had a word, but then, or I wait for my turn. And
you wait for you can put something on the agenda. So you can say after the tension,
I can write.
You can write yourself, then it pops up. We have a screen. Everybody looks at the screen. Or when I say, okay, I have what I need, you can say, secretary, please put up Malta on the agenda for me.
So after Michel has said, I have what I need, and then I, from anywhere in the circle, I raise my hand.
Yeah, I say, I have something for the agenda. Exactly.
And then we go just to the next person.
And then you tell it to the secretary. The secretary, he will put it in the software if you didn't do it, or it can be a flip chart. He will write it down. And then the facilitator will decide which point we take next, and he can choose whichever he wants. So he might take your point that you just raised.
And so the facilitator is the one who decides in which order we go about everything. Exactly. So in tactical meetings, we discuss like what is needed so we can move forward with our projects or with our
daily
plans.
business,
Daily business. And now comes the governance meeting. And then you said this is something when we work on us, like on our group, on our circle. Can you explain how those meetings are run?
Yeah, so basically every circle has a purpose. And purpose is kind of your goal. So it's like purpose-oriented, the work we do. And every role has, you work in different roles. So I have a role as project manager in one circle. I'm also like financial forecaster in one circle. And then in one circle, I have a role as a service owner of an internal service. So I have different roles. And for every role, I have accountabilities. That means there is in the system written in, as a project manager, you have to make sure the communication runs fine and the numbers are updated in the system and those 2-3 things. So this is what I have to do. And then I can come in such a governance meeting and say, I think, because you want to be very transparent in holacracy, everything that you should be transparent what is expected from you. And you say, next to doing all that, I always, take care of the client. I hold his hands. When they are kind of upset with us, I have tried to build them up again. And, I provide kind of small attentions to them, whatever. So I'm pampering the client. So I want to have an accountability that also I take good care of clients so they're in a good mood.
But it's not like additional accountability, but you will also be paid accordingly to this, yeah? Or how is it?
I would not connect that to the payment. This is, in the end, yes. Depending how many roles you have, what you have to do to that, that's like kind of your working profile. So that will be like what you get paid for it. But here the idea is you want to describe a bit better what you are doing actually. Or if you are doing work that is not described in any accountability, you want to have that transparent so everybody knows you are also pampering the client. So you want to have that in officially. So this could be something like I'm describing the work we are doing a bit better. The other thing that we are doing in governance meeting is like I see in our circle that some work should be done but is not done. And then I figure out should somebody do that? And then we can add this accountability to that person's role. Or do I think this is something completely new? Like an example would be we have some juniors in our team and I think we should take better care of the juniors. So I want that somebody takes care of the juniors within our circle. And then I propose that we create this role of caretaker of juniors. And then people give in the feedback. And then after the feedback round, it would be an objection round. So then the facilitator would ask, okay, everybody asked the questions they wanted to know. So the feedback round is also there to get clarifications. You can ask questions back.
You say, I want to have somebody who takes care of juniors, and this is what I think they should do. You came with your proposal, so our circle is functioning better.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's assume like this, because we are working on our circle. It's a governance, how we run our circle. And then once I have expressed my proposal...
Yeah, I made an error exactly here. What happens next is first you have a clarification round. People ask questions, but just on what they heard from you.
It's a clarification.
It's clarification. Round. We don't speak anything else. We just clarify what you said. I did not understand what was the name caretaker. Okay, and that's only for juniors of this circle, or is it also for apprenticeships or so? So this is the clarification round. And then after this round comes a feedback round, and everybody will give a feedback on what they think.
And feedback, I would say, what a stupid idea.
Yeah.
Or what I would say, oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, exactly.
But feedback is like, what do I think about it? Yes?
Yeah, exactly. And then the facilitator after this feedback round will ask you, okay, according to what you heard now, do you want to change something on your proposal?
First, you express the proposal. Then we had a clarification round from everybody else that they ask you necessary questions for them. Then we receive a feedback from the group. And this is when you don't talk. And then it comes to you. And then they ask you,
according to what you heard, would you like to change your proposal? Okay, people find the idea good, but they think this caretaker, it's a strange name. They prefer to have it tante or uncle of the juniors. And then I say my proposal is not anymore caretaker, but it's like kind tante or uncle of the juniors.
Okay.
This is my new proposal.
That's your new proposal. Then what happens?
And then it goes into an objection round. Then every single person is asked, do you have any objection against this proposal?
And the proposal tante or uncle, or in general that there is?
No, the general thing that I described.
So you just you
We-
improved your
I improved my
proposal, and this
proposal,
is
yeah.
on your improved
Yeah,
proposal.
exactly.
Everybody says, do I object to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And most of the people will say, no objection, no objection. And if somebody says, yes, I have an objection, then the facilitator will kind of challenge if this is a valid objection or not.
Mm-hmm. And what are the rules for saying that objection is valid or not valid?
A valid objection would be if what that person is proposing stops you from doing your work correctly.
So let's say you proposed we need somebody who takes care of the juniors, and I realize, if now it will be run this way, I will not have all the resources I need from my circle, and that means I will not be able to deliver result.
If you can prove that this is the case, yes, but most often that somebody will take care of juniors will not stop you in, doing your projects or doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can say, yes, it will be a problem for me to do that, then it would be a valid objection.
But I have to be able to prove. It's not like I think it will be a problem.
It's no assumptions and thinking and thinking that something might not work. In holacracy, it's always, and I think that's very helpful in general, is it safe enough to try? So one also of those objections, which the facilitator will ask, okay, if you think that's going to harm the company, will it harm it in a way that the harm will be so big that we cannot avoid it, even though we change back this thing that we changed, in some weeks?
So do you think that if we have this junior tante or uncle, that we do it, and then in few weeks we see it does not work, we cannot undo it without losses?
No,
without harm.
Can we not undo it before there is big loss for the company?
Before there is a big loss.
So if there is a risk that we will lose a lot with the company right away because we do that, then it's a valid objection. But if we decide to do it and there is a change, we might lose money in future, but at any moment given for any other governance, we can just roll it back. If that is okay, it's not a valid objection, because then we first going to try it, and if we see it does not work, we're just going to undo it again.
But the main point is it has to be in a way that we are not damaging ourselves before undoing it, yes?
Yeah, exactly. But the main point is holacracy is a system that wants to promote change, so it's easy to change things. Usually, people don't want to do changes. So whenever there comes something new, it has to be very, very good that you would do it. Everybody has to be convinced. And here you will do it even though not everybody is convinced. You just want to make sure it's safe enough, to try it, and we cannot go bankrupt right away because of that decision. But if we see in some weeks that does not work correctly, we just undo it again. Always those small changes, not the big things, but we're going to go for it.
And if we see it in a few weeks that it's not going well, then it's also a governance meeting where somebody raises a proposal.
Exactly.
Yes?
You can undo what you had done before, saying, look, we tried it and I don't see it working, or it because of this and that was a problem. And then again, the whole procedure starts. Everybody has a feedback on it, and then comes an objection round and so on. So you can undo things, but that's quite rare that you undo things.
One thing about objection was that my objection is valid if I can prove that it damages my ability to deliver my task within that circle. Second one was if I can prove that it will be damaging to the company and we cannot undo that damage anymore. Is there anything else about valid objections?
Yeah, what is not a valid objection is when you have a different idea or an improvement of that idea. So you say, no, I don't think this tante is good because we don't need a junior tante. We need a tante that is there for juniors and for people who are within their first year new to the company. Mm-hmm. And again, you can propose that, but that's a different thing. You don't hijack a proposal of somebody else. How often is it that you in your private life, you have an idea and somebody takes it over and makes just something bigger out of it or something different? And to some degree, it can be good, but at the same moment, again, you have this tension, this threat that somebody who is just, in charge of stuff or who likes to be pushy just takes over things and overrides the other ideas. And this is what holacracy should not be about. Again, everybody's opinion counts the same.
Okay. Can you give an example of some proposal that you have experienced from what you can share?
Yeah.
And there were objections that were considered not valid.
Yeah, so the most famous one in the company happened like some months after holacracy was introduced, and that was before pandemic time.
So that was like 4 years ago or
I was
5
like
years.
4 or 5 years ago. And it was about home office. So home office, we had it before. Some people would take it 1 day a week. They would work in home office, but it was not officially like agreed from the company. And then in one of those holacracy meetings, a guy said, I want to propose that it's free up to everybody in the circle here, because it applies to the circle, but it was the big circle. So, every circle that is within that takes over those rules. It's like hierarchical. And he said, I want to propose that it is free to everybody to do home office when they want to do home office as much as they want, because it gives you more freedom, you are more independent, we all have family, and so on and so on. Most of the people, of course, were very happy. Former management was kind of shocked and very afraid, because they were the ones who had not agreed on that the years before, while it had been topics all the time. It has been discussed many times.
But wait, I need to interrupt.
Yeah.
Former management, when you say, those are also the owners of the company who would, in case if this does not go well, then it would be their money that is lost. So it's not like they objected out of no reason. They objected because they can turn out to be losing there. Okay.
Yeah, and one of the guys said, I object to that. And I was not there at that meeting because I did not have a role in that circle. But then he said objection, because probably he said, how can we control that people gonna work enough and so on? And then it was checked through, and is that a valid objection? And it turned out it was just the fear that things would not work out, but there was no proof that this would be the case. And therefore it was not a valid objection, because just to say, I think if everybody does home office, then, we'll not be able to speak with each other. We cannot control people. People might just be sleeping long and so on. And those are all just assumptions. There is no one evidence that this would happen within that situation. And again, is it safe enough to try it? If it does not work, after 3 weeks, you turn it back. And worst case, you have lost some working hours during 3 weeks because some people were just sleeping at home while they should be working.
So it's not like a bad damage to the company.
It's not a bad damage. And that is how home office was introduced within 45 minutes, while it has been talked over and over again for years and years, and spending thousands of hours, not thousands, but many hours discussing it. And then just like that, it came to be, and it was tested out, and it worked. And since then, we have home office way before pandemic. And that helped Unique, my company, during the pandemic, because we were used to have home office. When it was said you have to work from home, we were so set up for home office. That was a big win.
No problem
No problem. That was switched like that, just because we've had that rule before implemented already.
Any other example of the changes that were brought in because of this approach, that everybody realizes I am the boss of myself in this company, and I can bring in things, that I have this agency, that I don't have to wait until somebody takes care of me.
Yeah, a good example is, there were always the discussion every year if we do a big Christmas event. My company is famous for having done like big Christmas event where you go to mountains for 3 days of party and so on. That was in the very good old times, 3 days. And now, as I said, for some years we have been doing okay, but not very much. So it was, if the year was not so good for the numbers, it was like not sure if there would be an event. And that was always like be very kind of awaited decision from the management, will there be an event or not? And the management would just usually decide. And since we have holacracy, it's the people who are organizing them, because management just agrees on the parties, but they don't organize it. So it's kind of back office and HR together who do the organization of these events. And they said it's kind of stupid that, it should be decided a bit like the gladiators. Do we do one or do we not do one? Let's just create a kind of strict metric of when we're going to do one or not we're going to do one. And then it was agreed we're going to check out the numbers. And if by, I think, end of the second quarter or third quarter, it looks like the numbers are going to be good, we're going to do an event. Otherwise not. So it's exactly clear there is a transparency of a metric. Are we going to do one? Yes or no? And you can read it from the numbers, black or white. It's either yes or no. And since then, we've had big parties because we have good numbers. But it came from back office, from the people you would not expect to have such in a traditional way, that are basically there to take care of others, and that are not doing the big decisions. And a decision who was done by management on a kind of belly feeling, not good at all thing, that brought up many troubles. From one year to the other, it was done so everybody understands it, and it came from from people that were not in management at all. Wonderful.
And about objection round, so when then there is objection round, and then what happens?
Then if there is no valid objection, which most is the case, you say, okay, we have a valid government and this rule is now implemented, or this role is now implemented, or we have changed the accountabilities of that person, and this is kind of written down.
So right away, when I had been coming up with proposal, I have been getting the clarification what people need. Then I have been getting the feedback. Then I can reconsider my proposal. I finalize my proposal, and then people can object. And if nobody objects, then it is implemented right away, starting from that meeting. And what happens if there is some objection?
Then there is an objection, and then this proposal is turned down. And then it depends on the person. If that's really important to that person, they will go and maybe, have a talk with the people that did decline it, basically, to figure out what would you need so that could still be valid, what were you against, so they will change their propositions. And if they have the guts, they will come again and propose, in 3 weeks, probably not exactly the same thing, even though they are allowed to do that, but basically you would change it a bit, tweak it, you have done some lobby work that people would be supporting you. So it's very human. Then you try to win the opinions of the others and you propose it again.
So to have the proposal rejected, how many objections one needs? One objection is enough. If it's a valid objection, my proposal will not be accepted. Okay, exactly. And if I want this proposal to be accepted, as you said, I could come in every meeting, I can bring it up again and again, but it would be just stupid if I have not worked on it before.
Again, as I said, you can misuse the rules to do stupid things, because the rules don't think about, if a person so often the rules in usual companies are made for this 1% of people that are misbehaving. But everybody suffers because of this 1% that you have control with the rule. And in holacracy, that is not the case. You assume that, people will not misbehave. So you create the rules in a kind of way, in common sense way. And there is this risk that somebody will be misusing the rules, so they could come every third week again with the exact same proposal. But that never happens, because everybody would think that person is crazy. And when you have no bosses, you are responsible for your action. There is nobody there to protect you, to provide work for you. It's your duty and your responsibility within the company to find work and to have good stuff to do. And if you behave strangely or do weird things, nobody will want to work together with you. And therefore, it would be completely stupid to behave like that, because sooner or later you will be isolated and nobody will be working with you. And if for a longer time you don't manage to find work within the company, you will come in some process that sees what's going to happen with you, and there is a big chance that you're going to leave the company or be released from the company, because obviously you don't manage to get work in that company, even though you have enough projects. That means something must be a bit wrong with you.
What has changed in your life because you are working in a holacracy, no bosses, and what you have taken over? So how do you think it has benefited you personally, this approach that you are your own boss?
I mean, I have way more freedom, and the biggest freedom I get is I don't need to report to somebody, which is not exactly true, because of course I have duties to do, I have things to report. But the problem with the concept of the boss is that there is a huge amount of responsibility bundled with one person. So if I have a boss, he decides on my salary, he decides on my promotions, he decides on my vacation, he decides I'm on the projects I'm in, he decides on, and those things are still being decided within holacracy. It's not like, there is complete freedom, but they are being decided by very different people. So about my salary, it's a group of people that is constituted somehow from different circles. If I want a promotion, there is a guy who is not responsible, but he's kind of, he's called Fachbetreuer, how you would say that in English.
Oh, well, good.
He's the kind of the boss of the discipline project management. So he's watching all project managements and, consulting them and giving help. If I want to go to vacation, I don't ask anybody. I just inform my team, and I have to install a substitute for that. If I want to work in a different team, I can do that. I just have to go to that team and work for that team. Or I can also go to my team that I'm working at the moment and say, look, I don't want to be doing this here anymore. I want to try out something differently. So those you still have those places where you need to go to, but it's not always to your boss. And if everything is at one person, we all know how it feels to have a boss when you just feel insecure because, you know, you have to pretend like you are working fantastic because he decides on your pay raise. So that's the first person you cannot go to and be honest to your boss. But I can go to my project management kind of leader, the one guy who has all project managers under him, because I can talk to him openly because he's not one-to-one deciding on my salary. He has a part of that, but he has also other things. And so this distribution of power is just very freeing. And to me, it feels like I don't have to report to everybody. I take decisions on my own that before I had to let them challenged by my boss.
Mm-hmm.
And this makes me to be more of my own company. It's like you don't have. It's like you're responsible for your own company. You're gonna check, okay, what can I do? Which numbers do I need? What do I want to do? How is the strategy with this client and so on? All the things that usually you go to your boss to and you refer to, boss, what should I do here? What do you propose? Or worse, you even have to tell him before you do. What are your plans? I'm now able to do on my own. So I have way more freedom.
And what has changed in your life in general, not just at work?
Yeah.
Because you have learned the holacracy mindset, and even there are many areas where nobody has holacracy mindset, but you have it.
Yeah.
You have this approach, I am my own boss. What has changed in your life?
It's difficult to say. I think I'm like more initiative, more to pick up new things, because you don't do just what you were told to do, but you kind of figure out where could I improve which things. So that also transferred to private life. And I mean, you have to say, but I think I'm taking also more responsibility of my actions. Because in the end, the result is my responsibility, and I decide what I want to do. It's not like that I'm fulfilling somebody's order. So
what do you think the people should do, those who say, yeah, but I am not so lucky, my company does not have a holacracy, they don't want to have a holacracy, so I am unhappy? What would you tell to such person who can say, I'm not so lucky as you are, so I will continue suffering because I cannot be my own boss?
So obviously you still have a boss, but for you yourself, you can still switch your mindset that kind of within the limits that are given to you. You are still the boss in some area. You don't have maybe so much freedom, but you can be more initiative. You can figure out what makes things better. I've had like consulting calls also with ladies from Latvia who say they were working for some kind of company. I don't know, it was Buchhaltung.
Accountancy.
Something like that. And they were told, or they were reporting me, I would have so good ideas, but the bosses don't want to have the numbers this way. I could make it so much easier, but the boss don't let me do it. So figure out a way how you can do your system without the boss knowing, and you present him the results, how you have managed them in a shorter time. And once he will see that you managed to do the things better in a shorter time with the better results, he might be able to discuss with you, how this thing is being done. Here in holacracy, you don't have to prove with the result. You can already go in and say, I want to do it my way. But what you can do, even though you have a boss, is do it kind of your way, and then when you have the good results, you go and present the results to your boss. Because every boss likes it when the people think for themselves and figure out good solutions. So you can, even though you have this smaller maybe area of responsibility or freedom, you can figure out solutions on your own. It's like, okay, there is a boss somewhere, but within the space that is given to you, you can still be initiative and do the best out of it.
So use what you have. Don't because sometimes people say, "Oh, yeah. I am not my own boss. I have a boss, and therefore I am helpless here. There is nothing I can do." But what you are saying, look where you can do things, even if you think there is nothing you can do. It's just like you are giving up your power instead of noticing where could it be. That I can exercise my power. Even though I have a boss, I still have ways to figure out how can I do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's similar like this circle when you said that somebody would have an objection and the proposal would be rejected. I would, if it's important proposal for me, I would go and, as you said, lobby behind.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, the boss who rejects your proposal, even without a holacracy, it's like, it's just a person I have to work around. I have to work with. I have to figure out. I have to still continue.
You are very good in that. You're good in tweaking things around and figuring out another way and doing again. And I think that's in the end that means to be your own boss, to figure out solution, even if there is a stop somewhere. Okay, how can I do that? This stop is not so strict maybe anymore, and what do I need to do?
Yeah, but it's because I'm married to you, and to all my proposals, I typically, like 90% of the time, I get no.
I give you good practice.
Yes, you
I
have
agree
been,
on that.
I'm
not proud of it, but that's true. You can bring your 100 examples.
You rejected New Zealand trip, which was our dream trip that we both dreamed about, and you said no, it's not possible. But I can give up. I can give many examples how it is possible. But because I decided, I remember I once decided, not even you prevent me from being happy. Like,
Wonderful,
you know,
yeah.
I am married to you. I
Yeah.
want it to be great relationship, but if what you do is making me unhappy, that means I feel like you are kind of having
Yeah.
this power of making me unhappy, and then the power is not with me.
Mhm.
Then the power I kind of unintentionally give away to you. I kind of wait, oh, when will my husband make me happy, or when will my cooperation partner make me happy? And I remember one night when we have had a fight in the evening. It was a bad fight, and I was crying and crying, and I felt so miserable, and I really I hated this feeling, because it felt like no matter what I do, like I'm in this big trouble, and you don't keep your word, and so on, and it's like the source of my misery. And it was like,
Okay.
it's because of, and you know, you did not do anything terrible there. I already don't remember what exactly that fight was about, and it was just a, you know, normal kind of a problem in the couple's life, most probably, because we have not had an abnormal problem. So I assume people might have had something similar. But the point is that I was crying, and I felt so helpless, because I expected, you have to change, you have to do something, when in fact, no. And that decision, when I was like, no, but what do I want? I asked myself, what do I want? What it is that I need? And what I needed to feel happy with my life. I needed to feel I gonna live good. And then I decided, okay, not even you will stop me from
Wow.
doing it. I'm your wife. I would like to be married to you for my whole
Yeah.
life. If it works out, we don't know if it works out.
How would we translate that to a work situation? Not when you talk to your boss, not even you
Will
are gonna
prevent me
from
from having a great career.
Wow, that is good.
Because it's like, if my boss says, I ask my boss, oh, I would like to do something different, I would like to keep growing because now I'm stagnating in my work, and my boss says, no, you are good right where you are. That's exactly what my boss said to me like 20 years ago, a bit less than 20, maybe 17 years ago. Said, no, you are good right where you are. And I remember I said, okay, I get my boss's point, it works for my boss, but it's not okay for me, and I need this job. I need to continue working here, but even my boss will not prevent me from growing. I will do what is necessary so that I receive my salary, that I'm okay, in okay terms with my boss, but I will be searching the options, how I can grow. And for a while, my boss still helped me to have like a more interesting responsibilities that I could grow. But at some point it stopped. There was no more growth possible. And then I just had to go on and work for a different company to continue this growing. And I remember that once at that night when I made this decision that not even you will stop me from being happy, it was not like, oh, you are a bad guy. It was like, I am taking back my power. It's not you who is making me happy, or it's not you who is making me miserable. If I agree to be in a relationship where I continue being hurt by whatever, you know, disagreements go on between us, I am responsible that I am in that relationship, and I have to make it in a different way. So you kind of with that action, you kind of rejected my proposal, And it was like, no, it's not that I'm divorcing you yet.
I came a bit later.
It's not like I'm divorcing you, but I was going back to you, and I said, no, like you said, in holacracy, people can bring up the same proposal again. And I came to you and I said, no, it's still very important for me. The thing that did not work, it's still very important for me, and I really need a solution. So what do you need so you can give me that solution, what I'm asking? Because there is no way I will back off and I will say, oh, okay, I'll just be unhappy here.
Nice.
But I think it's similar also with you. Have you seen it somewhere in your life? Like, for example, one place where I have seen it, when our second child was a baby. And one thing which is very, very important for you is that you work out, that you have your sports experiences, and that they are quite regular. At about 3 times a week, you totally need this heavy workout. But the thing was, because I could work a lot when you were back at home, so I could not watch kids at the same time, because this was my most productive time and I had to move forward the work I am doing. And then you said you are going to have the workout anyway, even though we have a baby, and baby will still be alive and okay. Can you tell this example?
Just I would do the workouts at home, have the baby covered on the floor and lie next to him and do my sit-ups. Or in summer when the weather would be good, we'd go to the lake, the baby would be playing in the sand, and I would do my push-ups next to the baby. So everybody would be thinking that's a very weird father there, but I felt like, okay, I'm working out. At the same time, I'm taking care of my boy. I felt like I'm doing double work there. It was cool.
And then you also did the workouts right outside in our yard, where all the houses are around and they see you exactly. You are like on the stage basically, and the kid is playing, like, I don't know, in the swing, or he's in a sandbox, and he still needs you to interact, and you are right there and you are doing your workout.
I think it's very correct what you said. It's to find solutions no matter what the circumstances are. Do you have a boss that does not want to? Do you have a husband that does not want to?
You have a wife that does not want something.
If you want that, it's your responsibility to make it work, and you will always find ways. Just don't get up. Just tweak them a bit, think a bit. It's good.
And you said that in the government's meeting in holacracy, the whole circle's point is it serves a purpose. Can you talk about this purpose and the values?
So holacracy said also it's purpose driven. So every circle has a purpose. And the purpose of the general company circle is, wir machen das Digitale menschlich. So we humanize the digital. That means that all those companies out there that need to change their websites because you have new options with the modern technologies, that need to switch from paper to like electronical processes and so on, that we support them with our projects, and we make it in a way where the human is still important. So where the end client, but also like the companies that work with us, where the people are being respected, and we are not just there, to rationalize away some workplaces or so. For us, we have discussed a lot about values. We know what our values are. They are like, we want to have freedom, we want to have a healthy lifestyle, we want to travel a lot.
Yeah, adventure, and the time together, that we just want to be on a good relationship, that we really profit from being together instead of lose from being together.
And for us, I think, since we know that so clear, it's very easy to decide on like things we're gonna buy or not buy. If we find some gadget or some tool in some shop that looks good, we're gonna check, will that make us be more adventurous? Will we have more freedom? Will it make us live healthier? If no, none of that will, then we will not buy this new lawn mower or whatever that is. So we can really use those values as a framework to decide on things.
So the company decides like those circles decide their purpose, and then they recheck. Do they also recheck the purpose?
That's also in the governance. So either you create a new role, you change the accountabilities, or you change the purpose. And the purpose should always reflect what you are doing.
So okay, then in your private life, like as a your own boss in your whole life, not just in the holacracy, the purpose is like, do I live accordingly to my values? What are my values? And you said that this governance meeting is once in 4 weeks, where one checks how we are doing as a circle, right? And if I am my own boss, then in my private life, I should be also checking in, for example, once in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And I ask myself, so how am I doing as me, human being, as a me incorporated, like, Sia, Sia me, like in Latvian we use this name, Sia, limited. Sia me, is it fine for me, or do I want to change something? Do I change something in how I live my life, or do I change what are the values of my life?
Exactly. I think that's very correct. Every time we should step back. We do those retreats sometimes. We don't manage as often as we would like, but that's exactly that. And then you see what are your values on this side and what is your reality. And now if they don't match for some reason, you need to check, okay, do I need to adjust my values, or do I need to adjust my reality? And if you recheck on your values and say, yes, I still want to live healthy, but I do no sports here in reality, then you have to shift reality towards your values. Or if you think, yes, I'm not doing sports anymore, but being healthy somehow is not so important for me anymore, then you would have to shift your values to realities. You always have those two sides, and you need to make sure they work together, because if they are not the same, you will have confusion, and it will be very difficult to make choices.
Okay, I will ask you to think about your example from your life, and I will share one of my examples where these things did not match, where my values did not match with my actions, with my reality. But you think about your example, you will need to share. So one of my high values is joy. It's very important me to just experience joy, and it does, or to live like interestingly, and joy. The joy is just so important. And as you know, I'm the one who usually damages all our parties. Like, everyone is laughing, everyone is having good time, then I come in and everybody gets serious. And I was like thinking, people punish me or something. But in fact, no, I am usually very serious with those people. But joy is so important, and I wanted to have more joy. So it did not match. I want joy, but I'm the serious person. And then I realized I have to learn to be more joyful. And one thing was just to learn to laugh about jokes, and to have jokes. And remember, I had this proposal that we come home from work, and in the evening we share one joke you, one joke me. And if we had somebody living with us, then that person would also have to share a joke. And it did not matter if I was in a mood for a joke or I wasn't in a mood for a joke. Did I know a joke or I didn't know a joke? Because the value, I want joy, and here is the action. How will I bring that joy? And it was, I have to learn to be more joyful, and I have to learn to be more playful. So it's that I need to be able to tell a joke, or I need to be able to listen to your jokes and laugh about your jokes, appreciate your jokes and other people's jokes. And so even when it was like, no, I did not have time today, and I would tell you, no joke from me today, then you would say, hey, it was you who said you want to be more joyful. You bring up a joke, even if you just go on internet and you find a joke in the last minute. And oftentimes that's exactly what happened at our table, that sometimes we were 3 adult people, and we would still be searching for the jokes in the last minute and read it, because this is how I adjusted this when my actions did not match my reality, did not match my my aspirations, my values. And so that's where more joy came into my life. I started to be more playful, but just saying joy is important but not having it in my reality, that's hypocrisy, I guess.
Okay. I will come up with one that I struggle a bit at the moment, because there I have this connection. So on one hand I want to be full of energy and healthy and curious and creative, and for the creativeness on so those were my values, and on what I do, creativeness is either I can fix stuff, work in garden, work around the place, which I don't do here a lot now, because I'm moving soon, and one place where I want to have this creativity is in creating movies. And again, for the last months I have not been doing that as much as I wished, so I have this struggle of now needing to figure out how can I get my reality back to there so I feel more creative.
But you are still checking if the creativity is still important, and if creating movies is a part of that creativity.
If that is the solution, yes, definitely. So I check back, yes, that's still a value of mine. I want to be more creative. And as soon as I will have done 1-2 movies, I will check myself, does that fulfill that need now? Or is it maybe something different I need? Or I can have the same value creativity, and at some moment it works to fulfill it with movies. but maybe in another year movies will not work anymore and I'll start to do paintings.
And our common value is being out in nature. It's like this feeling grounded, feeling empowered. It gives us so much, the nature. And then there have been times in our life when we were, okay, nature is it's this groundedness and inspiration, empowerment at the same time. So that is the value. And then we look at the reality. How often have we been out in the nature? And it turns out now we have small kids and there is so much work and extra projects. And so we have been just, struggling with life. The reality does not match what we say is our values. And then we were checking in. Maybe we are not so much nature people, but whenever we would be in nature, we would come back like so full of energy, like so gotten rid of stress that was hanging on us for so long time. And then it was like, no, we really need to match our reality. But we cannot, with small kids, we cannot go to the mountains like we used to go, for 2 days, crazy hikes. And then it was like, okay, the nature is still important. And then we made a decision. We will go to short hikes where we basically can go up on a mountain with the lift. So that cable car, thank you. Yeah, with the cable car. And then maybe we walk like half an hour. Kids are okay to walk, and then they cannot walk anymore. And then we just hang out at the lake. We just stay. Like normally you and I would walk around, but we cannot have it. But then because nature is important, that is still being out in the nature. We will still feel better. That's not our ideal option, but it is still something that serves our circle, that serves our values. I think an important part of a person's ability to live accordingly to their values, first of all, is figure out what your values are. And I know that was, for us, it was a long journey until we really figured out our values. We started it, but I think it took us about 7 years because we did not have a framework how to do it. And the first time when it was working, was when somehow I asked you once on a walk. I asked you, how do you want to feel? How do you desire to feel? Feeling what is important to you?
I remember it. It went to the feelings first. We were always thinking about action. What makes you,
what we like to do. We usually asked what we like to do.
Yeah.
But then it was not
But you only do one thing. That's what you brought up. Then you only do one thing so you would feel something. So you really have to start with the feeling. And then we came to this, I want to feel, you said powerful beyond measure, and I would say energetic and pumped. And then from there on, we say, okay, what do we have to do so you feel pumped? And this is where we came to the things what we have to do. And we figured out that everything that we do outside in nature basically is matching those requirements way better than things we don't do outside.
And then you said that for you, it's important to feel curious, that you like this feeling that you are curious about something. And that's where first you come to the feeling, how I want to feel, feeling what makes, and not just I want to feel good, and not just I want to feel happy. That's just a broad description that is very kind of tricky to get there. But when you ask, like, what are the what constitutes this feeling happy, or what constitutes this feeling good, and then it was like, when I am curious, this is where I like to live in that energy of curiosity. And this is where you said you will read different books. And one thing what you do also now is you watch different documentaries on Netflix.
That's how I cover my curiosity. I love to watch those documentaries, all kind of different ones. And of course, on one side, it's also entertainment. But if I was not so clear on that, I would just watch movies. But I think to watch documentaries is just so much more fulfilling because you are entertained. At the same moment, I learned something about life, and it fills my batteries that I have for curiosity. We think of them as like kind of tanks that need to be full. So when my curiosity tank is almost empty, I need to fill it up. And I can do that with some cool Netflix documentaries.
For me, when I asked myself how I like to feel, one thing was inspiration. And before, I always felt like guilty that inspiration is like, as if I would be a drug addict, that it's such a bad, like somebody would say, I like to feel like drunk, I want to feel alcohol, and that's why I'm drinking. And but when I realized that when I feel inspired, I like myself better, and you like me better, and kids like me better, and friends like me better, and my clients are happier with what I'm doing. And when I realized, no, feeling inspired, that is my value, and then I just have to match the reality. Do I do in reality things that help me feel inspired? And if I don't have this mindset of I am my own boss, then I wait until somehow there will be a time when I can be inspired, that the kids will be big enough that you will say, oh, darling,
why don't you get inspired?
Why don't you do something that inspires you?
I'm sorry for never telling
you.
you that.
You never have told me that. Oh, please do something that inspires you. I sometimes tell you that do something that inspires you because it's my value. I offer you do something, and you offer me often to do sports because that is your value. But if that's something that makes me successful, as you said. In the company, holacracy was introduced to have a great company, to have, like you said, financial results were okay, but the company wanted to have great financial results. And so that was the place where everybody needed to realize I am my own boss, and I just make this company to be great working place and to be great earning place.
Definitely. And I love your example of this inspiration. I think it's the same with the walks. You have to allow yourself to do walks because you know how walks are important because of the work you did to figure it out. Otherwise, when you're going to do walks, when there is nothing to do on a Sunday afternoon, when you relax, you will put them in this very edge place, when there is nothing else to do, let's have a walk. And then you figure out, no, walk gives me so much that I need to put it in, even though there are dishes to do, there are this to do. It's still a rational decision to go on the walk instead of doing the hard work, because going on the walk will make you be the person that can do the hard work.
Yeah, and the only way how I can make myself do the things that are my values is because I know my values, and it's the same with you. And it's not easy to arrive at the values. Also, they change. They become somehow different with the time. And I'm very happy that now I have this framework how to get into what is real values.
I mean, as you said so often, I was your most difficult client to figure out what values I want, what I want to do in life. But that totally worked. It's a big freedom to know those values, and we have them in some years, and taking big decisions has never been as easy as now because of that.
Yeah, that's true. That's why we could move so easily, because we are kicked out of our current living place as they will destroy this house. And we had to move and to get a new place to live, and it's quite far from here. It's almost 2 hours drive, and the kids have to change the school. You have to change the office you will work in. I change like everything about my life.
But the new place will give us way more freedom and way more options to fulfill our values for
more joy, because we know we will be climbing more there, and we know that you will have more interaction with your friends. It's just because when we check it accordingly to our values, this is this inner compass. It's like your inner GPS. When you ask yourself, what makes me happy, what makes me feel good, what do I enjoy, what gives me the satisfaction, that's how I like my life to be. That works then. When I asked Instagram audience, I asked, what would you like me to ask Michel? And quite some replies had, please ask him, how does he manage all he does? Like you too. They even said, like, both of you, you are both working, you have kids, you have a very healthy lifestyle, you have your adventures. How is it that you manage? And both of us have talked that it's because of that we know our values so much and we live it. But can you tell how you arrived at knowing your values? Because when we met, both of us were somehow not really living accordingly to our values, and even worse, we didn't know our values, or we thought something was our value because it was installed in us from our, parents, background, culture we came from, but that was not the thing that was ours.
I mean, I cannot recall you step by step how that happened, that process, because there were 10,000 steps. Basically 4 out of 5 steps were like doing workshops with you and filling out papers and replying questions and seeing how we feel, and then also trying out things and seeing, you know, what gives us a good feeling, what does not give us a good feeling. Like, we have so many plans, and we also always like to have like city trips, you know, nature trips. And whenever we came home from a city trip, we thought like, okay, one day was cool, but the second day we were already exhausted, and the third day we just wanted to run out of the city, even if that was New York, you know, so cool as New York. And this is where we realized, no, we are nature people. So, but first came really the work to put in the thoughts and then to try out things. And I mean, the figuring out, the theoretical work, that was, you brought in those exercises from, you know, those different courses you have been. You figured out the system, how to crack your most difficult client. That was me, that I take the the credits for, that you have now this way of figuring it out. And without that, I would never have come to the place that I am now. So you need to have somebody to show you kind of the way, because with your story, where you had been, and with your diagnosis that you have had once, and figuring out how can I get healthy again, and figuring out what you need to do so you are healthy again. I mean, this is what brought you this know-how. And like in so many areas, I just connected, I just profited from you, I'm afraid. And I still gave you a hard time. But it was a lot about this one question that helped me a lot was, okay, when you were smaller, what did you really like to do? And, you know, I remember I would tell you like, the best days would be if with friends we would just go out, hang out at the schoolyard for a whole day and just play soccer the whole day, or we used to play roll hockey, so ice hockey on skates, or we'll play roll hockey the whole day, or we'll just go somewhere and have an adventure, you know, go on a camping trip with the family. So those were the memories I loved the most, that made me feel good. And then I realized, okay, why don't do that now? So obviously I need to connect to people, I need to do sports, I need to have adventures. And this is where we started to figure out, okay, what does adventure mean to me? And I said, it can be, you know, try out a new sports. It can be stay overnight in some other place. It does not need to be parachute jumping from the stratosphere. You know, it can be smaller things. But this is where we started to put in then adventures every second week. And we have totally upgraded the project now, because I feel like we have now like kind of basically yearly projects. So, you know, 2 years ago was the year of the soup, when we did those stand-up paddles a lot. Then we decided we go into climbing, and last year we did those via ferratas and in the hole, and now this year we are really climbing in the rock. So it's also to set goals. Okay, how do we want to up it next? Okay, you want to be healthy, you want to have a lifestyle where you are a lot outside. What can you do to be outside a lot? Okay, let's do climbing, because we like to have hikes. Then we have an additional way. And then we went fully into climbing. We invested a lot into equipment, but it pays off so much, because after climbing, we just feel totally pumped, and we can do that as a whole family together. And again, without your inputs, we would not be a climbing family. And now it feels so good that we are a climbing family.
Yeah, but it all starts with getting this clarity. What is important for me to feel? Where do I feel the way I love to feel? The way it's great for me to feel? Like sometimes it's not that I am all the time only in adventures. There are some times when I want to feel like calm, serene, but very, very connected, not only to myself, but to some kind of higher power. Like, I don't know if it's a big inner power or it's this huge creative power where is. And that's where I know I need my reading time. I need my thinking time. But I would not allow myself to do it thinking I cannot afford it. I have a work to do, and I have kids to look after, and I have this garden because health is important to me, and it would seem like I have to give it all there. But this value of feeling connected to my power and to this higher creative power, it's so important. And if I don't do it, then I am not my best self, and I don't like how I am. And I'm the boss. I'm the only boss who can provide me to be my best self, and not to be my best self for you, not to be my best self for kids, even though I would like to be the best self for you, but I cannot. I need to be best self for myself, and I only can do it when when I am responsible, that I have it, and I have it, as you said, in holacracy. It does not mean that I am now the boss and I will do only what's important to me. I will not work and I will be receiving money. That would not last long. I still have to calculate that I am involved with other people, and one will find a way. But it's this inner decision. I will not allow somebody else to make me unhappy, because nobody has the power to make me unhappy. There are bad things, there are terrible things that happen in life anyway. We lose parents, we have diseases ourselves, our dear people have diseases, there is a war going on, there is a pandemic.
Misery will come, pain will
anyway
come.
Yes, and that will be tough, it will be difficult, but still people can after some time bounce back into the happiness if they have been training themselves to feel the way
I think that's correct. No matter whom is your boss, no matter what, it's your responsibility to make yourself happy, even against your assumptions or feelings, when we go back to those moments where you want to read, because your brain tells you cannot afford to read now and sit back because you have duties, you have to clean up the house, and who are you to take your time to read your book before you clean up the house? But you are good in that. And this is where I never come home upset if for some reason the house is not clean, because I know you have been taking care of things that are way more important to you. Even though for an outside person it might look, she did not clean the apartment, she's like a nasty mother. I know that you have been taking care of yourself, so that once you feel good, it will be easy for you to clean the apartment. But if you would have cleaned the apartment now, the apartment would be clean, but your energy would be like that. So
I would be a monster.
I prefer to have a dirty apartment and a nice wife than a clean apartment and a monster. And this goes for so many things. So how did you put, no matter whom is your way, no matter my boss, no matter my husband, I will still be happy. So
as I said, nobody will prevent me from being happy.
Not even myself, you should add there. Not even myself, because you are the one to give yourself permission to go on those walks. And if you don't monitor that yourself, you will not give yourself permission. So this is why you need to be so clear with your values.
So what did you need to switch in your attitude towards your life? When I speak about this satisfaction with life, what did you have to give yourself permission to do when it felt like it's not smart?
I'm not at the level where, as you are, where I can prioritize those things so correctly. But I think I just added them up. So I knew I need to do those works out, as you said. But I still need to take care of the babies, because at that moment of the baby, because in the evening I come home, you have dealt the whole day with it. I cannot come home and tell you I go for my run and you take care of the kids. So, but I was combining those things. That was something that was new for me. I can do my workout even though I take care of the kid. Now I can have my adventures even when the boys are with me. When we go on, the bigger one can now mountain bike. So, go on a mountain bike ride. This is an adventure for me. I can take the boy with me and it's still cool, because I can also show him new things, and that also pumps me up. Yeah, allowing myself to have courses, to spend money on becoming a videographer. And, okay, let's spend money. Might be some thousands on equipment and so on. I don't know if it's going to pay off or so, but that's a value of mine. I need to figure it out, and then I will tweak it and see if it works or not. So take the risk to invest things in places where I otherwise would have felt, no,
it's not smart.
No, it's not smart. But I knew those things could pump me. So let's go for it.
Yeah, and about video, I also find very cool when because you are so busy with your work, and then you spend a lot of time with the kids after the work, so you can connect with them, do things together with them. Video requires time, and you also have found a way to improve on your video skills is when kids are, going with their bikes, jumping in the air, or, doing some crazy jumps on the sand with their, running and throwing balls, and you make art out of this.
Yeah, in a perfect world, I'm walking around with the big camera all the time, but it's not the perfect way. I mean, it's a fantastic world, but it's not perfect. So I just do with my phone a lot of, and I edit on my phone and do small videos that you could put on Instagram or that just go lost somewhere, but at least I have been creating. Yeah.
And I'm also very grateful that you realize this need for your creativity, and that one of the ways your creativity comes out is through the video. And because you invested in your video, that's why we can have also these Cilvēku Jauda podcasts in the video version, just because we can afford it since the equipment is already there. So I don't think those things are wasted. Those things are all discovering oneself and having a life that one is just happy to live. One is just content to live.
I think one of the, you need to give yourself permissions. I mean, usually you ask a boss for a permission. If you want to do something that you think is maybe not so smart, you ask your boss, and when he says good, you know, go with it, then you are like, okay, I'm in peace, I can do whatever. But we don't give ourselves permissions enough. And you are a good example in showing that one has to give yourself permission to just lay down in the bathtub, to have a walk, even though there is so much to do, to not clean the house when it would be needed, because there are more important things. And also to give yourself permission to invest in places where you think, okay, that's money, but you know, that is according to my value, that might change my life. You have to take those risks. And then back to holacracy, just make sure, you know, those risks are not so good, you cannot turn them back on town. But most of the times we don't take decisions that we cannot undo when it's about hobbies. So it's safe enough. Is it safe enough to try out something new? Yes, it is. Okay, let's go for it.
Yeah. I will ask you to guide somebody who is now thinking, yeah, I wish I had your type of freedom, you know, I wish I was in a holacracy. I don't have that. And my life would be so better if I was my own boss, and I don't think I really am. But I also want to feel great about my life. So just think what you will tell this person, because while you are thinking your point, I can say that I have created a program how the person can understand and also be able to follow their inner guidance, their inner compass, or their inner GPS, general positioning system. But we call it like it's like a satisfaction. It's like this is this inner program that moves us forward. It's in Latvian, and just check it out. The link is at this conversation where you see it. I don't know if you watch it on YouTube or you are listening it on a podcast or you see it on our website. So the link is there, and there is still a live training that I will do with the people, many people involved. It's a great interaction, after which you will have so much clarity about what's important to you and also how to bring it in your life. And it's one of the ways to plan a really great summer, which is happening, this event, on 27th of May to 30th of May. Not all the time, just you will see it at this place. If this can be of help, as I said, for us it took many years to figure it out, and I just put the best practices there. But now back to you. Can you say what would you suggest this person?
It's not to think limited. So if you have a job and you have a boss and you want to change things in your life, I mean, you have your private life, you have your working life. Let's see, first of all, you know, what is it that you need, and then let's see where you can get that need, or not even what you need. Let's see which feeling are you missing in your life. And then if it's feeling, you know, is it the feeling of energy? Is it the feeling of love? Depending on that, we're going to see what you might need to do so you can get that feeling. And, you know, you have so many options, especially more in your private life than your work environment, because as we understood, in a private life, you have no boss unless you are a child, which you probably are not.
Or slave, which you are probably.
Or slave, you are probably also not. Even less, hopefully. And then from there, you do the work and you figure out what could that be. You go back to your childhood, what has given you joy, what are the things you could imagine that would be good. Basically, all the things that we have been going through, and that I'm pretty sure you will go through with those people on your course. So, because for me, it was a life changer. I mean, the first one was to meet you. And the second one was to you develop those systems where you could even convince your hardest client that there is a purpose somewhere out there for him. So I'm very grateful for that.
Okay, but not everyone will see, this course is something I can do. And what would you tell to those people who will be especially upset with their work and they say, I'm not my boss?
As we said, just think without what are your limitations? Why do you think you're not your boss? Why you think you have no freedom? figure out what you can do within the framework that is given to you. Change your mindset, even if you have, few freedom, because there are those 5 tasks you need to do. Figure out how you can improve those tasks or make them in a way that they are done a bit faster, and then you can maybe save some time. You can do other stuff, or you can ask your boss, is there anything else I can do for you, because I still have time available.
Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for this bravery to come.
For this experiment.
We still have to show the last point, because there was a check-in and there is a checkout. Before we do the checkout, which can you explain also the point of the checkout?
Yeah, checkout I think is less important than the check-in, but the checkout basically is where you just say goodbye, you sum up. Was there anything you liked in that meeting? Was there maybe something you did not like? That's also an option in Holacracy, to give a feedback to the facilitator who was moderating. So you saw the discussions were going too much right or left. Then you can say, okay, I for my my feeling, it was too much discussions and we did not cover really enough points and we lost track a bit. So I wish that the facilitator would be a bit more strict next time. And then you can also just say what you liked about the meeting, basically, or what were the results. But again, you are very free. You can say whatever you want. You can also
say it says just check out.
You can say I'm toasted checkout, or you can say check out. But we don't have a good name for that. Sorry.
So chicken. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add from what we discussed today?
It is not easy to this. It's a mind shift at the end. This Holacracy. It took the company years. As a private person, it will not take you years, but it will take, Übung. It will take
practice.
It will take practice and figuring out and asking yourself questions and reflecting on yourself. And once you have been in this mode, like where you have been feeling kind of a bit like a victim, where you are just delivering to others, this is just stuck in your brain. So it will be a tough ride to change it, but it's totally worth to change it.
Thank you. Michel and I are very curious, especially I am very curious. This conversation between us, did it serve you anyhow? I mean, if you have listened to this moment, then I think it would be crazy if it did not serve you. Then blame it on yourself.
Unless they just did fast forward to the end.
Yeah, okay, that works.
But then you are at least very smart.
Smart to serve you, but if you forwarded it forward without needing it, that's a different story. So would you please give us the feedback? We spent the whole day, the whole Sunday to create this conversation. We started from 9 a.m. to prepare. After 10 o'clock, we started to film, and then we thought, it does not go in a way that people can profit, and there was a lot of stress for us. How can we do it? It's also very hot here. So it's just to say, if you would like to have us sometimes talking about something that was valuable for one of us or both of us again, and we can do it only in English because of Michel. I cannot do it in French, for example, or I cannot do it in Italian, even though I can understand some things.
I could also not do it in Italian. Okay, I can just not do it in Latin.
So we will be doing it in English, and if it's the language you understand, or some people with whom you might be sharing this conversation also understand, let us know. We need the feedback. Without the feedback, we for sure will not repeat it, because we will just assume, well,
it was fun, but it was a lot of work.
It was a
without
lot of
feedback,
work. It's difficult.
We're probably not gonna just repeat it like that. But we're willing to do it if it serves somebody.
Yeah, and if you benefited somehow from this conversation and you share with us what exactly was valuable from, I don't know, what we discussed, how we discussed things, because we are considering having such conversations more often. Obviously, it will not be on Cilvēki Jaudas podcast, but this was a good place to have this experiment in case if it serves somebody. If it does not serve you, if it does not serve anybody else, of course we will not be doing it. We will be just chilling out at the lake or going up on the mountains, because this required quite a lot of work. But as one of our values is, we want to contribute to bringing more good into this world. This was our decision on the contribution, and now we just need to know, did it bring any good? Because if it didn't, there is no point to keep doing it. It's a waste of our energy and, I don't know, the electricity as well that we have been involving. In the last episode of Cilvēkjauda, Andis and I shared the story of how I started the weekly letter, which I sent per email to the similarly minded people who like to get inspiration, who like to get new inputs, and they are just quite busy to sort those things out themselves, and they would be benefiting from what I have found useful. And if you find it that this could add to your life quality, then you can sign up for this kind of a newsletter in our website ugunsskola.lv, and just scroll it down a bit and that you will see there is a sign up form, and you will be getting this letter about once a week, or maybe sometimes less if I'm busy, which might happen now when we are moving. If you don't like to get it, you can unsubscribe any time. And I still think that after sending out the first letter, as we discussed with Andis, the feedback is wonderful. That people say, "Oh, I can see how I benefit." So, thank you, and let's do checkout. You go, I go about checkout this time. Okay. I feel very nervous. If we're gonna get any feedback, and if we will not get only rotten tomatoes, thrown at us. That was bad and that was bad. So I just invited people to give us the feedback, and now myself, I'm afraid of the feedback. Did we perform good enough? Did we bring the value? And I will have to live with this question quite a long time, and I so much hope that somebody will say it honestly if it helped, and how did it help. And thank you so much for being such a great partner in my private life, and also in the work I am trying to do in the world. It means a lot to me. Check out.
Thanks. I'm also quite curious how that will, turn out to people. If that was too chaotic, if that was like to the point, probably very not. But I'm also happy to just it's through. I'm happy we still will finish the day with thinking, okay, somehow we managed. We don't know how good it is, but at least we managed. Because at midday did not look this way, as we tried it, and it was such a pain, and I was just lost in technical details about holacracy, and I'm happy for the collaboration we had today. It was not easy, but we managed to go through it. And yeah, I'm toasted. Check out.